Colin is becoming mustache gender.
I like that.
You like that? Okay.
Join us, brother.
I feel like my mustache is thick enough where I can just live with this.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. The wives have agreed.
Why buy a comic that might cost more than a dime? Come meet the brothers who are here to waste your time.
Welcome back to the Comic Bros podcast. It is all three of us for the first episode of the year. We're setting new trends. We're breaking bad habits, and including Colin in his own show.
I'm not breaking any bad habits. If anything,
I'm getting new ones.
I am going to be only mustache man.
Okay, Jim. Whatever you say.
Colin, have you heard
Punched in the face?
the last?
Dude, I love that exchange. It's so fucking good. It's like, hey, you gotta, take this.
You gotta get out of here. We gotta get you out of here. Gotta put a lot of heat on you. What if you punch me in the face? So good. Anyway, sorry, Jacob.
Have you heard the last couple of episodes? Because I definitely referenced that joke about mustache being the guy's sexuality, the guy's gender.
Absolutely not. I have been not on the face of the earth.
It's true. He's been inside the earth. He's been digging holes.
At least I've been inside something.
Have you?
Yeah, your mom. Not Collins.
Oh, wait, I thought I was a successful hoe. Doesn't that mean I've been inside something?
Yeah, the cat. The only pussy you got.
Hey, man. Hairy pussy wherever it appears.
We're talking about Captain America White today.
Yeah, he's white.
That is true.
By the Jeffus Lobus
motherfucker.
and the Timothy Sale.
I did not remember liking this one as much as I ended up this time around.
Wow.
Yeah, I kind of don't give a shit about it.
One of the three Colin opinions.
It's true.
Yeah.
At some point, we will get a robot to do your job.
It's not that difficult. I don't know why you haven't already.
Because we're broke. We can't afford a robot.
He has 3 pre-recorded responses.
Doo-doo dog shit. I don't care. Literally best thing ever.
Yeah, that was kind of doo-doo feces. I don't give a shit. Or, fuck, put this in my urethra. Slam this shit as far as you can.
Oh,
fucking
man.
give me a bussy whiff of that shit.
Something I didn't like about this book is that it's doing the same writing trick, I guess, as the other color books, where the main character, the title character, is writing a remorseful letter to somebody else. This is the third one in a row, and it's getting old. It was in Hulk Gray. Hulk's writing his letter about how he fucked Betty over, but not literally. It was in Daredevil Yellow, where Daredevil fucked Karen Page over, but not literally. And then this one is about Captain America and how he fucked Bucky over, but not literally. Well, good news for you, buddy. You hit the nail on the head with that one. Looks like a hammer found the nail, because that's the next book, because that's like the whole point of these 4 books. Yeah. Is, man, I really fucked over this person. But let's put the title with, I really fucked this person over. Color. That's the fucking, that's what these books are.
I do agree with the critique a little bit, just because it is repetitive, but more so with this one. So this is actually the last of the 4. It came out a little bit, like 2010, I think, was when it was finished. And as the one that's not about a romantic interest, it feels weird. It just, the vibe does not pass the vibe check.
I think it was kind of intended too, because there's a couple of cracks about a Cat and Bucky, and it's like, what are you cooking here.
Yeah, no, for sure. If you look at the interviews in the back, Jeff Loeb was talking about like they were writing Cap as like pretty explicitly like non-sexual as a character and wanting to use the dynamic. I think they had more of these planned before sale passed or whatever, because they wanted to like flip that around from being like a old romantic partner to just another person. And I think that works on its own in like a vacuum, because Bucky got pretty fucked over in this one, and that is in at least for this interpretation like Cap's most important person. But it looks kind of weird when you squint at it. Like, I don't know.
So I feel what Jacob's saying, because but a little differently, because this just felt like it was Daredevil yellow, but military Batman. And because that's kind of what this just feels like. This is just Marvel, like Golden Age Batman, talking about how he fucked over Jason Todd. But I don't feel like that with all the books so far, because I felt like Daredevil was like, yeah, this is cool premise. And then with the Hulk, I felt like, I don't know how to explain it, but I felt like it was different in a sense. At least like it cut it up different and served it with like a different spice.
Yeah.
And this one is just Daredevil, the Marvel Batman. And what I was really hoping for was that we got it would end with Cap running after after the Winter Soldier, or something to do with the Winter Soldier. Like, that would have been cool to see. But it wasn't. It was just kind of like boring. It's just not good.
My problem with it is just like, on the outside looking in, I thought these books were going to be about the color and how it deals with the character. And that is in here. Hulk gray, he starts out gray, and it's not just his physical appearance. Daredevil yellow is about his costume and like where that came from, and a little bit of like his handicap or whatever.
And he's feeling yellow.
I don't think so. Oh, okay, all right, I guess. And then especially Captain America White is like, he's the good boy.
He's white.
Eagle Scout compared to Nick Fury, who's like, war is hell and you gotta commit war crimes when you're in war. So there's a little bit of that. So I don't know. I just expected more of like a character study and not the remorseful, I suck as a hero in every single book.
That I can agree with, because the newer reprintings that they did of this, because the 4 issues came out like multiple years apart. When they finally collected it, there was commentary in the back about like none of the readers had completely nailed what the color was exactly meant to represent yet. And like, I want to know, because I think that's interesting. It does feel the least, I guess, thought out, where it's just like, well, yeah, no shit. But like, there's definitely something else going on that I'm just not really able to pick up on. Actually, bouncing back to Colin's point, I was thinking an interesting way to have used the formula and then twisted it towards the end was that we, as with all of these books, we never actually see the character that they're writing to die. That's part of the point, is it's vague, and like, we as comic readers could interpret their death from so many other versions wherever we really want it, and it doesn't really matter, which is cool. But with this one, I was thinking as I was going along, because I read this like 5 or 6 years ago and I just didn't really remember the plotting, was maybe when he comes out of the ice, it turns out Bucky is alive and he's just an old man now. Like, so instead, it's like he's had this whole like memoriam in his head and this big letter he's been writing, and then he actually gets to like have resolution, and I thought that would be really cool, and it's just not there, which was kind of...
That would work with the title too, with the white, because then it's like, oh, his conscience is like cleared. It's white. Right. It's a clean slate.
And Bucky's hair would be white.
Yeah. I don't know. There's definitely some ways to have twisted it around. I guess my bigger writing positive for this one, I do typically like Jeff Loeb's writing pretty consistently. This book was much funnier than the other ones.
Absolutely,
for one.
it was.
There's some really good jokes, and there's some really good like page turn or like next panel gags where it's like, oh, we're gonna climb over this cliff face. There's a gun at your head. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of that, which I thought was really funny.
Namor coming out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Even with the cliff scene, they make a cliffhanger joke, and then there's a gun pointed at their head, and that's the end of the issue. It's like, it's so many layers to the joke. It's so good.
Yeah.
There's a couple things I didn't like. One was, it felt like the timeline was messed up because they referenced the Human Torch, and it's World War II.
The original Human Torch was one of the first Marvel heroes who was in World War II.
Oh shit! I remember now. Okay, yeah, because the only time I've ever seen the original Human Torch is Marvel's Marvels.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He was.
Sorry,
it was
my bad.
In like traditional 616 canon, it was the Human Torch, Namor, Cap, and a couple of other heroes were like the invaders at the time.
Right.
Yeah, it was a whole thing.
And my second one is there wasn't enough Gypsy Lady.
That actually is my primary point. Not exactly that, but I want to build off that. I do agree. Great character. Because when we were originally going to discuss this, my laptop had a day and I was homicidal. So we didn't end up doing it. I said you guys could do it without me, but you said, no, we want your cringe ass political takes. So this is my thing. I really liked, despite the fact that the book is simultaneously formatted as like a propaganda piece, but also then kind of undercutting itself very consistently with like, this shit's actually really messy and blah, 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 blah.
Hard nod to that.
Yeah. The thing that I just didn't really expect from Jeff Loeb was a level of nuance about what genocide actually entails. I'm going to go there. Fucking you. When they go to France, when they go to France and they're talking with the Romani, like they're going into like, it's not just the literal extermination of people, and also acknowledging the fact that the deaths in World War II, the civilian deaths, were not just Jews in the Holocaust. It was also a billion other cultures. It was pretty much everywhere that the Axis powers tried to invade. It was obliteration. And that's the point, is it's a cultural destruction as well as a literal one of its people. And I just didn't really expect them to say that. It wasn't just Nazis bad. It was like, yeah, and here's why. And it's from the perspective of people in those countries. And I oozed all over that.
Nazis bad. GI Robot, have fun killing them.
Are you a Nazi?
Dude, I got Noah, my roommate. I got him hooked on that show, and he loved GI Robot. And then because I'm watching with him, because he watched the latest one with that's about Dr.
Phosphorus.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, what's this? And I'm like, oh, dude, you got to see the first episode at least. And then I walked away to go do something, and then he's already on the third episode. I'm like, oh, shit, you like this? He's like, yeah, this is really good. And then we get to GI, and he's...
Cheers for the Tin Man.
Yeah, that episode. And he's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Oh, dude, he freaked out at the Weasel episode. He was freaking at the cost.
I told you guys that you would get it when I was yapping. You're like, yeah, we'll get to it. And I was like, I bit the bullet. I did it early. And it's like, literally you.
Well, no, the funny thing is, you're talking about that show. I was already watching it. I was ahead of you. And I just didn't want to say anything.
Cock and ball torture.
Because I want to be the guy that was like, yeah, I watched the whole show before you guys even started it. But, Spencer had to be a little and had to watch it.
Hey, man, Girl Abe Sapien was down there. Can you blame me?
I want to know her fucking past.
I'm assuming that's the next episode, which is the finale.
I really like the Red Skull design. He looks cartoony and cool. I like it.
When they fight on the Eiffel Tower,
dumb proportions. It's the typical artwork for these books, but it's still funny, and I like it. It brings me back to the old school cartoons. You can't tell me I'm wrong. I also like the interaction, the comparison that happens between Captain America and Nick Fury. It was kind of a slow burn. It wasn't really in your face. It was kind of subtle to like the A plot, but it was still there. And as I was reading it, I was like, oh, that's why the book is called White, because I get it.
Wait, why is it called White?
Because Captain America is the goody two-shoe Boy Scout, and Nick Fury is like, no, actually, we need to commit war crimes in war because it's war. And that's when war crimes happen.
Yeah, it's pretty lame. War crimes are cool.
Speaking of Nick Fury.
Ooh.
I read Marvel Max Fury. What's the subtitle? Hang on. My War Gone By. Aha! I remembered. Written by Garth Ennis. It is 13 issues long. The first issue starts out in the late 40s, early 50s, I think, in Indochina. And I had to look up what Indochina is or was. And it was Vietnam and Laos and the other one. It's just a big section of the world that turned into Vietnam. He's in Vietnam before the Vietnam War doing spy shit. And there's a lot of politics. And there's a lot of spying around. And there's a lot of sleeping around because he's a spy. And as each issue goes on, it shows Nick Fury moving up through the ranks, through different wars, and being in the espionage business through those wars, and like backstabbing while getting backstabbed by a backstabber who backstabs the other guy. As I was reading it, I was like, this is like the best Black Ops campaign I've ever read. It was a lot of fun. That's my best comparison. It's like a Black Ops campaign. It was fun to see the politics and to have Garth's interpretation of how politicians back home fuck things up for, the guys protecting the hill in Vietnam or whatever. It had a lot of beans, and a lot of the beans were really good. I had a lot of fun with this. And then it ends with a huge gut punch of like showing the consequences of people's choices and actions, and how everybody being shitty at each other just made everybody's life shitty, and they are at the end of their life and they're like, I'm miserable and it's awful. And it was really good. It ended on a really hard moral, and it was great. I didn't like that the second and third to last issues included the character Barracuda, who is from this or from the Marvel Max Punisher run. I don't know where he started. I hated him in Punisher as well. He's what's the term for like the hitting every hot spot in a profile? He's every trope. Just
poorly written.
Yes, thank you. A lot of racist tropes are all piled up in this one character, and I really hate him. I'm supposed to hate him because he's, I guess, just in the way he talks and acts, and is just a overall scumbag. It doesn't come across well because he's a villain that you're supposed to hate. It's just like an extra layer of hate that probably shouldn't be there.
That's really weird, because it sounds like this book has a lot of, I guess, surprising nuance from Mr. Garth Ennis Edgy Man. So it's kind of like a contrast point.
Yeah, it definitely felt like he partly wanted to include his OC character, but also got tired of telling a story and was like, just went for the boys and was like, do you get it now? There's Barracuda here. He's stomping on dead babies. They actually show that.
Ooh. With fava beans.
I really like this book. It's not for everybody. It's probably one of the hardest content books I've read, or at least near the top. And it's also one of the best liked Marvel Max books. So I was very happy to find it for $15 in collected issues.
That's pretty good.
At a local comic shop. Oh, it's also fun reading the Marvel Max shit in issues because of all the wicked old ads in the issues. There's ads for like I don't know, just really shitty movies and like really old games. You're like, oh my gosh, that came out so long ago. How old is this book? It's really
Does
funny.
this one have the ad for the X-ray goggles that you can send in for 5 box tops?
No. I think it had ads for Elektra, the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. There were a bunch of shitty movies in there. I was like, oof, that did not turn out well. I would have given it 4.5 out of 5 stars, but Goodreads doesn't do half stars. So there you go.
Pookie.
My turn?
Yes.
I watched Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs. That's my movie that disappointed me.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's not good. It's his first movie.
This is interesting.
It's basically the parts. I think what makes it not good is the way that it's shown to you. So there are parts that are good about it. Like, of course, I like seeing Mr. Orange. Mr. Orange's stuff was cool, but this is kind of like his Quentin's what's the word I'm looking for? His prototype of like his normal filmmaking. Because in Kill Bill, this shit works, of course, where it's like you're not shown exactly from the beginning, and it kind of skips all over the timeline of the story. This one, it just opens up with, someone's gut shot, dying, operation, what's the word I'm looking for? A robbery gone wrong type of shit. And it's mainly just boring. But the actors that you see in movies frequently that are in this movie, they're good. Obviously, because then they're in fucking more movies. Like, what's his face that you see in Grown Ups or like in comedies like all the time? The guy that just looks like younger Bill Skarsgård. Skinny guy. His name was Mr. Pink. I can't remember the actor's name. He was Mr. Pink. Mr. Orange, he played Abomination. Yeah. Mr. Orange played Abomination. He was good, of course. Of course, whenever I see Quentin in a movie, I'm so fucking annoyed. The only time I like his acting is in Pulp Fiction. In that movie, I have some thoughts on that.
You don't like him in the deleted scene from Dusk Till Dawn when he's sucking on her toes?
Haven't seen that movie yet. But that's not one of his movies. That's just a movie he's in. It's not a part of the list. It's not on his. He's just in it with George Clooney. It's just most of the acting shit. Like, especially between the big boss, his son, and Mr. Brown, I think it was. The dude that just got out of prison. Like, their shit's just super weird, and it's not weird like how it's supposed to be weird. We're trying to make this weird. It's weird as in, like, this is droning on for too long. You didn't edit this right. The acting shit. Yeah, it's just all together like a blah movie. And of course, it always ends with everyone's dead except for one guy that no one gives a shit about. That's like usually how these movies work. That's kind of his trope. But I understand it's his first movie. It's the prototype for what was to come from the other good movies that he has, the many ones that he has.
It's interesting that you're talking about this because I watched The Last House on the Left today, the original by Wes Craven, and I read online that Wes Craven famously walked out of Reservoir Dogs, and Quentin Tarantino was all pissy, like, you don't recognize me as a director, boo-hoo. And Wes Craven was like, Last House on the Left was to show disgusting, awful things and say this is disgusting and awful. Reservoir Dogs revels in it.
Yeah, it's just...
It's a pig and slop.
The movie's just not good, and there's no messages except for, hey, look at these things. And it's cool, isn't it? It's kind of cool that this sick dude cut off a cop's ear and then, like, slashed him, too. Like, that's pretty cool, right? And it's like... No, I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I don't love cops. I'm not a bootlicker, but like, I don't think mutilating is really cool.
But what did you think of the one foot shot that had to have been in the movie because it's him? I haven't seen this movie.
I'm trying to remember because there's like no women in this movie at all.
That doesn't mean anything as long as there's feet.
Yeah, but it's usually women's feet. I don't think there's any men's feet in this movie. Or any of his movies. But no, there's like no foot shot. That hasn't happened until Pulp Fiction.
See, that's why it's not good. It's because he hadn't figured out his entire rhythm yet.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Just wait until you get to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and like 1/3 of the movie, all of the female pro tags are running around with no shoes on.
Oh, I know. I've seen all the clips. I've seen the clips. Yeah, so end of review. Movie is doodle feces. I rate it a 2 toes out of 7 feet.
Wow. Well, where did the 2 toes come from? What was good about it? Like, to bring it up that high?
The relationship between Mr. White and Mr. Orange. That one seemed pretty cool. And there's one scene I'm trying to remember. I think it's basically the whole chapter where Mr. Orange is learning to be Mr. Orange, like be an undercover cop. That stuff was pretty cool. And that guy's acting before, whenever I saw him in like as Abomination, I always thought he was kind of like meh, but he seemed like a lot better in this movie, especially when you got to see where he's an undercover cop. He's trying to get this woman out of the car after the botched robbery, and she shoots him in the gut, and he shoots her, and you see on his face he's like, fuck, I just killed a civilian.
Is it Eli Roth?
Yeah, no, not Eli Roth. It's Tim Roth, I believe.
Tim Roth.
Oh, yeah. I get the Roths mixed up. One's Abomination, and the other one makes abominations of movies.
True, but some of those abominations are cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jacob, you.
No, I already went. It's Spencer's turn.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of movies, I watched Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths 1, 2, and 3.
And this is where this is where Spencer counts out his 13 reasons.
Hold on. Pause. 3?
Yes,
there's 3 of them. So
you're talking about the new one, not the original one.
Correct.
So yes, this is the end of the Tomorrowverse of animation. It's like movies 9, 10, and 11 or whatever. I recently rewatched all of them before like the entire series before watching this, and a lot of them are phenomenal. And then it slowly gets worse over time because they could smell the room that they needed to finish this universe off quickly because we had more stuff coming and it needs to be done. And that was one of the reasons I was so initially disgusted by doing, like, when this was announced to be the cap for this universe. 3 animated movies. They're all straight to video on demand / disc. So the length really shouldn't be a problem. They're not terribly distinct from one another. So genuinely 4-hour supercut. What the fuck? Like, easy, bump it up a half star because I'm not pulling up 3 separate movies. It's just dumb to do that. It's to make more money. I know how this works. I just think it's stupid.
Not the first time today Spencer has said the length should not be a problem.
So I walked in with extremely low expectations, and it did not go above them, but it was nowhere near as miserable as I was expecting. So my first complaint is that the Tomorrow vs. animation quality started off really, really good, fairly high budget. I like the animation style. It has really thick line work with a lot less detail. But over the movies, it's gotten worse and cheaper because they know it's coming. The budgets are getting slashed, et cetera, et cetera. And in these ones, it's incredibly apparent for the vast majority of them because the first movie just straight out has a stolen fan design of Black Lightning. Like, it's very much so been ripped off of someone's Twitter. I could find it for you. It's ridiculous, especially because it's not a character in the movie. It's a background shot. It's incredibly lazy. So just the general production value is pretty bad. My major positive that I actually have is it follows the original Crisis on Infinite Earths story a lot more closely than you would think. It uses a lot of the same players, but that's also a negative because this universe has introduced pretty much none of them. So we're cramming in Monitor, Anti-Monitor, Psycho Pirate, et cetera, all in these 3 movies. And when they first appear in the first movie, like, Psycho Pirate shows up, acts sketchy for 3 seconds, and disappears until like halfway through the second movie. It's very frustrating because you don't know what's supposed to be important and what's not, and what's like kind of a background cameo or whatever. So, they go to the Monitor's ship that exists outside of time and space and whatever, and we get all these cool heroes popping in. This universe has primarily operated with 2 Earths. There's Earth 1, which is where most of the movies take place, and then there's Earth 2, which is visited in the the second or the fourth movie, Justice Society World War II, which is pretty good. Instead of it just being an alternate timeline, it's a whole other Earth. And I believe that's the only movie that actually uses Earth 2. It's really weird. You could definitely tell that some of these seeds were planted earlier that they wanted to develop that they just didn't. So this movie has basically all of the heroes you'd expect from all of the previous movies, in addition to Superman and Wonder Woman from Earth 2, because the Superman on that Earth is older. He's from World War II. And Wonder Woman doesn't exist on Earth 1 because they just hadn't gotten that far yet. So it's the Wonder Woman from Earth 2, from the Justice Society movie, and from Justice League War. That's what I mentioned when I reviewed that a while back, that it wasn't the Trinity from one Earth. It was a mixed bag, which is weird. The actual introductions of the characters that we're not familiar with, like Psycho Pirate, I actually thought were really engaging. Supergirl has a whole arc in this because she becomes Harbinger, and her backstory with the Monitor is filled in. It's, I believe, the first third of part 2, and I really, really liked that. But the way the non-linear storytelling in this trilogy is fucking dog shit. Like, there'll be a massive 20-minute tangent to explain this one character's story because each one is formatted more like a movie with no ending versus one really big movie or like a mini series or whatever.
Sounds like some MCU shit.
Kind of, but like way worse. It's really
more like the Sony Marvel shit.
Kinda. The other positive I have is that the first movie tries to focus in on Barry Allen as its primary character, and it does it pretty well. Again, for a character that's only been in one previous movie and has it actually handles his story pretty well. He's actually characterized a lot more like Barry Allen than like Wally West, which is cool. The negative on that one is the Speed Force transitions when he actually starts swapping between Earths and times is fucking revolting. It's some weird ass, disgusting 3D garbage. It doesn't even look like the one that they had previously used in Justice Society World War II, where he does also do the same thing. So stupid inconsistency there.
Ooh. Does it look like the awful dog shit one from The Flash, the movie The Flash?
It looks worse. It looks worse, actually. Just really weird, like... It feels like it's connecting a bunch of vignettes of stuff that we should have seen, like the Justice League forming, which happened in this universe off screen between movies because they had to just cram in an ending really quick. Constantine is a massive highlight in this because this is the version from the previous animated universe that was based on the New 52, where he is like the linchpin for ending the universe, sending Barry back in time, et cetera, but now he basically exists outside of time, has no memory of who the fuck he is, and he's like a scrungly old homeless dude who's just like the harbinger of doom. It's fucking awesome. Love him. It's, I believe, Matt Ryan, the guy who's been doing his voice for ages, as well as who did the live action appearances in the Arrowverse. So that was a big highlight. Another big negative is Batman's characterization is dog shit. It's not a huge focal point of these movies, which is a big positive. But this is the same universe, or the same Batman, the exact same Batman on Earth 1 for this universe anyways, that was in the Long Halloween movies, which were incredible. And this one reverts back to literal monkey-brained, I can throw a nuke at it, I don't care about civilian casualties, and I'd never adopt a child. And his arc in this is learning to trust people, because then they pour in a bunch of characters from Earth 2 who are... we have Tim Drake Robin, we have Damian Wayne Robin, we have Huntress, so his daughter, and fucking Terry McGinnis, Batman Beyond. So it's him learning. Yeah, it's so random. Terry has like 2 lines in this movie, by the way. It was cool to hear his voice, but like whatever. So it's just this weird hodgepodge of like, see, on our Earth, Batman did all of X, Y, and Z. And it's like, we didn't see any of this. And why does this Batman have to learn this lesson? Because that's not who this character was already demonstrated to be. It's just character regression. Both versions of Superman from Earth 1 and Earth 2, the Earth 1 version being from Man of Tomorrow, which is easily the best movie in this universe, are both very well handled. They have nice character design distinctions. Earth 2 is a little older, but he's a little bit more traditional Superman looking, whereas the one from Man of Tomorrow has more of the 21st century design sensibilities like My Adventures with Superman has. It's easy to tell them apart. I believe they have the same voice actor, but he does really good different like delivery, which is cool. Last positive. The Anti-Monitor was brought in basically at the beginning of the 3rd movie and exists more as a force of nature with a voice, not in the like Galactus poop cloud way, but more in he's not the opposite of Monitor exactly, like he's a physical person. He basically turns into a kaiju that's made out of shadow, which is pretty cool. It's kind of dumb because then they all have to fight him with light and the power of hope and all that stuff, but it made it easier, I guess, as shorthand instead of having to develop an entire other character. So that was okay. And another highlight is Monitor was just generally handled really well. Going in a pretty short amount of time from the passive observer and documenter of this universe, of all these universes, to then having his time with Supergirl and then basically going, oh, we should actually interfere because the everything ending would be bad for my job, actually. Yeah, I gave the first one 2 out of 5, the second one 2 out of 5, and the third one a 2.5 out of 5. It got a lot more into the mechanics of how this would work, like the hypothetical fake metaphysics type stuff of like vibrational frequencies and channeling hope juice into the beacons and shit. And I like that because I'm a sucker for technical bullshit. Yeah, this was background noise. It's still the worst of this universe by a long shot. I'm just glad it's over, I guess, because now all of the animated stuff will either be Elseworld properties or DCU canon. I'm just glad it wasn't a hot pile of dog shit, because I really expected it to be.
That is the end of the show. Thank you for listening. We're sorry that life and the universe and everything has fallen apart, and it's more and more difficult to ship these out. But We're trying. We're working really hard, and we're not giving up just yet. Thank you to our patrons, Caitlin and Jeff Lawrence. They are the reasons why we keep doing this, because they went over to patreon.com/dimecomicbros network and gave us actual real life V-Bucks. And that's why we keep doing this, the actual real life V-Bucks. It's true.
Sure, I hate you.
Yeah,
You
sorry
can
for
go-
the delays. Colin and I were busy saving the multiverse or something.
More like,
Fucking, I'm trying to make sure Spencer doesn't implode the fucking multiverse. That's what's happening.
it's going to implode
Why me?
your multiverse.
Why me, motherfucker?
Your actions speak for themselves.
What actions? I've been going to work and doing nothing else.
Caitlin and
yeah.
Jeff Lorenz get special access to these episodes whenever they come out early. They get them several days early before the free range plebs do, and they I killed Colin. They also
he's slowly killing himself with his electric cancer.
that's true.
That's okay. There's no one right here.
Somebody, a group of guys at work were calling one dude's vape a penis. It was a personal electronic
Personal electronic
nicotine inhalant system.
You know where they got that from?
Probably TikTok.
Me.
Wow.
I spread that around at work.
But it's very funny to refer to vapes as penises. And now Colin is sucking two penises at the same time.
That's right.
And you call me gay.
Caitlin and Jeff Lawrence also get special access to our bonus show, Diamond Comic Bros Happy Hour, where we usually record right after a normal episode and crack open a beer or a regular adult bevy and talk about whatever funny thoughts come to our minds. But usually it's kind of like sad thoughts because we've been sad lately. But I try not to kill the vibe and have some sort of happy thoughts. We should just rename it to Smiling Friends. Special
Frowny friends.
We are not frowny friends. You do want to kill all Puerto Ricans, though.
A special thank you to Jetpack Comics and Games in downtown Rochester, New Hampshire, for providing all of our nerdy needs. It's not just comics. It's not just Warhammer figurines. It's not just magic cards. It's the whole shebang, including a staff that loves and cares for every single customer and asks what books we've been reading. And when we say real books with no pictures in it, they hit us with an actual trade paperback in the face.
Or if it's Rich, he'll then go on Twitter and rant about you coming in and smelling like shit.
Yeah, that's true.
It's really funny.
What?
Rich will go on like his personal Twitter and be like, hey, when you come into retail stores, don't smell like doo-doo feces. It's rude. It's really funny.
I hope I don't smell like doo-doo feces.
Next week, we will definitely talk about something, but we don't know what. We don't even know if we'll be here next week. Who knows? Tune in then.
Doo-doo feces.
Doo-doo feces! Who's interrupting my kung fu?